No. More. So here we are. So it's Sunday night, extra time. Great, Richard. Did you enjoy that on YouTube?
Fantastic. Some amazing questions. And I could see that there were so many other fantastic questions in the list. It's it's a shame that we don't do these 5-hour sessions like Abs does to get through them.
Do you want to tell everyone about next Saturday, the Healing Humanity talk that we're both going to?
Yes, fantastic.
Is Abs going? I don't even know if Abs is going.
I'm flying actually that day, unfortunately, so I can't make it.
What type of excuse is that? Yeah, fantastic. So the Healing Humanity event, it's there to raise funds in order for the team to produce a video on health and well-being, promoting the carnivore way of living. Stephen and I have both been asked to do a quick talk about our journeys, I guess. It's a short talk, but there's lots of other speakers there, so it won't be the usual boring hour-long talks that Stephen and I give. 10 minutes is going to be tough, but not that they're boring at all. I think they're absolutely incredible, Steve. I don't know about you, but yeah, I'm super excited. And that's next Saturday. I believe, does it start at 1 p.m., Steve?
I think it's 12:30 actually.
12:30. So fantastic.
It's Raynham, but in Essex, by the way, because I did a stupid thing. I'm going to confess now, because we're in our little closed community. Because Lee Copus, the Kent carnivore, mentioned the event to me, I just naturally assumed it was Raynham in Kent, and I booked my train tickets to Raynham in Kent. And then I watched one of the sort of little videos that one of the other guys put out and said, "Oh, it's Raynham, just by Dagenham. Here we are." And I realised that I've made such a boo-boo. Couldn't believe it. As a carnivore, you don't make mistakes like that normally. I got a bit overconfident, and so anyway, that cost me an extra £20 of travelling just to get to the right area. So there you go. Anyway, Laura is saying, "You didn't have enough time on YouTube to answer, so I'll try you on here. I'm having cramps sometimes during the night, but not every night. Not sure if I'm drinking enough. I have 4 times 800 milliliters bottles of water with 3/4 of a scoop of Keto Pro Electrolyte in each bottle."
Yeah, brilliant question. Look, it could be a number of things there. It could be not enough water. It could be too much water. Too much water is going to flush out the electrolytes. And it could be either too little or too much electrolytes. We're all different. I've had that, which was probably 3/4 of a scoop in there, and I've had probably similar in this. I've probably had another 1 to 2 of those throughout the day. I may have another one before I go to bed this evening. I tend to do it by thirst, so if I feel I need some, I'll take some in. But the amount that I consume differs from day to day. I was incredibly, she's put in there, I guess it depends on, for sure, it definitely depends on training. It also depends, Laura, on whether you were consuming lots of cheese and eggs or dairy, for example. They can be problematic if consumed in excess. So it'd be lovely to get a better understanding of what you're consuming roughly on a daily basis. Coffee can deplete electrolytes also. So there's a number of contributing factors. I was heavily depleted of electrolytes recently. As you guys could probably tell, I'm a little bit bunged up, although it's on its way out. So I was heavily depleted, and I found myself, I went through an unbelievable amount of electrolytes over the last few days. But today, I seem to be consuming a lot less because I've recovered from it. But it could be a number of things, Laura. But it would be interesting to get an idea of whether you're consuming. Oh, there we are, fantastic. I have been eating loads of eggs and cheese because I'm having a bad stomach, so I stopped. I don't think I have.
Can I just read what Laura said? Because you prefer me reading.
Yes, you read. You're far better at reading than I am.
Yes.
I'm better at talking.
Well, yes. Right. Laura says, "Yes, I've been having loads of eggs and cheese. Was having a bad stomach, so I stopped, actually. I don't think I've had cramps since I stopped. I never thought of that."
Yeah. So, again, calcium, this was another question that I saw in the lineup on the YouTube live. Calcium is essential. It's one of 6 elements that makes up 99% of everything within the human body. So we do need it, but we don't need an excessive amount. The ratio is incredibly important. And if we look at any animal protein, in the wild, and this includes organ meats, the ratio is always roughly the same. It predominates potassium, which is 4 times higher than the sodium, give or take. And then it drops right down to almost equal levels of magnesium and calcium. And yes, there are proteins out there which differ ever so slightly, but other than milk and eggs, which are the 2 things that give life. For example, egg is the giver of life, and then we've got milk, which feeds the newborn. Beyond these things, we don't see calcium in high quantities in anything else, and we're not designed to consume an excessive amounts of calcium or milk, I should say, beyond the age of infancy. So calcium can be problematic for me, and the reason for this is calcium is excitatory to the muscle, and magnesium calms the muscle. So if this ratio is out of whack, then it can be a case that either we're not consuming enough magnesium or we're consuming too much calcium. This is the reason that my electrolytes do not contain any calcium, and they contain a fairly high level of magnesium, because magnesium is incredibly important. And because we tend to consume lots of eggs and cheese and dairy, live in a carnivore-based lifestyle, this is there to help put this this balance back to where it should be. So fingers crossed, Laura, maybe we've nailed it there. The fact that they were giving you a bad stomach, I think, is a sign that we need to be reducing, if not completely removing them. Eggs can be problematic. Cheese is less problematic generally, but it is highly addictive because of the casomorphine, and it can cause toilet upsets also. So, I mean, if consumed in small amounts, neither are heavily problematic, but if they are causing issues, then they're always best to keep on the low end or remove completely.
Excellent answer, Rich. And Abs is just reminding people that yourself, Richard, and Dr. Abs did an electrolyte podcast recently, which will be out soon on his channel.
So. We did. Super exciting. In which he called me a fraud as well, by the way, so you've got to watch it.
All right. Oh, well done. That's excellent. Everyone will want to see that, and I will now. I'll have to watch that. A fraud indeed. That's terrible. I mean, someone with 100,000 subscribers, that's how they do it, you see.
Congratulations on 100,000, by the way.
Incredible. Thank you very much.
Yes, congratulations. Well deserved. And I'm a consumer, and I love your videos. I think they're really great. So, except that stupid one with the guy doing bloods. That was awful.
Oh, that was awful. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't hit top marks all the time. Right. Joshua has said the blood test compared to last year much better. Uric acid is exactly the same though, 400, still in the green, but just about. Joint pain a lot better, but not completely gone. Anything I can do to lower? Now, I'm assuming Joshua is just saying he wants to lower uric acid. I'm not a believer in high uric acid correlating to joint pain. So a decade of blood testing proves this, that I've seen very high levels of uric acid and the person is like a well-oiled machine, and I've seen very low level and they're not. They have a lot of joint pain. I do think it's more into omega-3s, omega-6s. I think cod liver oil has its place if you've got joint pain. Could just be more fats from food. I also think it is going to be helpful. Motion is lotion. I know you train really hard, so just make sure that you keep doing everything that you're doing. But what joints is it as well, which would be interesting to know. There's so much to joint pain that is fascinating. And also if you're having, for instance, I'm giving you a very good example. The body is amazing. So I'd have people come in and they say, my right arm, I can't move my right arm above sort of 90 degrees. I can't get it above parallel to the floor. And I've done everything. I've had a massage, I've had acupuncture, I've had manipulation, and doing everything over on their right shoulder, right arm. And more often than not, it's actually a problem on the other side. So I'd work the other side for maybe 10 minutes. Palpate it, a little bit of massage, whatever, and then we'd do the test, and their arm would go up. And I videoed it a few times because the reaction was like, "Oh wow, how did you do that?" And I said, well, I am trained in this. So sometimes if you have a right knee that's hurting you, it won't necessarily be the right knee that's the problem. It might be your left hip or your left shoulder or your gait. So there's a lot to this. So I think, Josh, if you want to, in the community, like message me a bit more or message a bit more now, we could maybe go into it. But I think, it's probably a bit unfair to talk too much about one person. We could look at that. But lowering uric acid would not be the thing that I would actually look at. I would look at raising fats, get your synovial fluid a bit more viscous, which might be helpful. I see that Richard is typing something. I don't know if that's going to be in the chat. But anyway, yes, right. Did you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, only really quickly, as you say, I think uric acid is problematic only in an inflammatory state, which you probably shouldn't be in, Josh. But just to add something to this, has it only recently come upon you since we've had the changing weather? Cold affects me massively. It just seems to put this chill, especially in my legs. I thrive in the warmer weather. This colder weather seems to be crippling me, but just curious whether it's only come on since the colder weather's come in.
Yeah, cold weather. I mean, this is the thing. So again, that's not uric acid related, is it? So, but great question, actually. And I noticed you're saying to Frank, great meeting at Dr. Ab's NAD course. I hope you had a safe trip back. Laura, incredible athlete. Just wish more people listen to him. Who are we talking about? Who's the
Mikey? So Laura has mentioned Mikey in there. So yeah, Laura earlier in the chat said, "Amazing, thank you." I spoke to Mikey about it the other day, and he told me to stop the eggs and the cheese. So Mikey's a wealth of knowledge, incredible athlete, and I just wish that more people would listen to him because he's doing awesome work.
Yeah,
creating incredible things.
Yes. Well, you're doing awesome work because you brought him to your podcast, didn't you?
I did. Fantastic podcast, yeah.
Yeah. So what are you feeling about the cold weather at the moment? Do you think anyone on carnivore needs to do anything?
Do you know, I don't know what I can do other than keeping my legs warm. I train with Mikey on a Wednesday, and it's Wednesday that I tend to notice when I'm getting out of the car and I do my work, and it's pain that I get in the lower parts of my legs that I haven't had all summer. The only thing that's changed is the weather, so it's I don't believe we get enough of the warmer weather in the UK, especially in South Wales. But I've actively tried wearing more layers of socks. Not an image everybody wants, but high socks as well. So under my trousers or my jeans, I'm wearing 2 or 3 layers. That does seem to be helping. But yeah, just curious.
Yeah, and I think it was one of the things that surprised me. So in my 40s, I was still high carb and I was putting on weight and all that. And when I started low carb, especially when I went keto, I started to feel the cold. And of course, what it was down to was I had less body fat. My body fat percentage, simple as that. So I was being insulated by the body fat, and no, I wasn't. I had to adapt to the cold weather. Joshua has put a little bit more detail in, not just my right elbow forearm a bit and left hip, but they've improved a lot since going carnivore. Lucy wants to know what could cause high ferritin when insulin is low and normal iron levels.
Well,
sorry?
Being unwell, plain simple. Ferritin is the body will sequester iron when it's attacked by pathogen, for example, because pathogens thrive on iron, so ferritin can increase because the body wants to take it out of circulation. But I'm sure Steve can get into more detail. He's the bloods expert.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's an acute phase reactant, which is a posh way of saying what Richard just said. When you have an infection, the pathogen lives on iron just like we do. So the body is really smart and it minimizes the iron that's in circulation and puts it into ferritin. So that's one of the reasons why ferritin can be elevated when there's nothing to worry about. Many people say, but I don't feel unwell. And I'm like, yeah, well, if we look at other things in your blood, your body is fighting this infection. You can have an infection and not know it. We don't know what we don't know because it could happen all the time. The other reason is if the rest of your iron panel is good, then it's not really a concern. High ferritin in bloods, actually in the way we speak about them, is actually can be a sign of iron deficiency, which doesn't make much sense, does it? Because we've got lots in the storage, but it's not in the serum. That's what they're saying. So it can also be that your red blood cells are living longer. But what happens, we make about 120 million blood cells a minute. And that means that 120 million blood cells break down. And when they break down, the hemoglobin becomes heme, which is iron, and globin, which goes off to make proteins. And the body gets used to that amount of recycling. That's a lot per minute. When you go carnivore, the body will notice, because it's signaling all over, it's the feedback loops are everywhere, that this recycling isn't happening so much. The spleen is happy to let those red blood cells circulate for longer. So then you get a reduction in the recycled heme iron, and the reaction would be that ferritin would go up. As the body sees that this availability of recycled iron is lower, it sensibly puts up the ferritin levels. And I see this time and time again. And we prove this time and time again because we do a reticulocyte count and we actually see that red blood cells are living longer. And it makes total sense. The only time it starts to be a worry is if, exactly as you put in your question, when other iron markers are changing. You want to look at levels of homocysteine, for instance. But in the main, I don't feel there's much of a problem with high ferritin levels. So that's a good question. Any more? Frank is saying, great to meet you too, Richard. Trip home was fine, thanks, and an amazing day. Crash course in the Randall cycle and the rest. So inspired that I started NAD plus treatment myself. Wow. So was that via abs, do you think?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So that's what he's saying. Yeah. It's Frank. Yeah, I met Frank at the NAD course. Real nice guy. It's brilliant to meet people. We see each other through the screen. It's fantastic to meet up and see, these like-minded people in person, and Abs was there also,
Oh yeah, I wasn't there. So was Abs talking about? I know Abs is here at the moment, but he's got his camera off, or he's auditioning to move puppets. Dressed in black, where they have a puppet and move around. Were we talking about injecting NAD plus, or were we talking about oral or through the skin? What were we doing?
Well, there's different versions. I'm sure Abs can jump in, but it's it's to do with fill in the bucket, Abs. As Abs would say, but I'll let him explain a bit more. But I've just gone back there. I can't recommend Abs's courses highly enough. I think he explains things in such an easy to understand way that you can go to these lessons, these courses with no prior knowledge and come away thinking that you're an expert, and it's fantastic. I wouldn't hesitate in going to any future courses that Abs does. So it's, we can't see Abs's head now because he's blanked out, but it's probably exploding. But
on the computer, so bit of camera and microphone issues, but thank you very much.
Yeah, have you tried taking the lens cap off the camera? Anyway, what was I going to say? I've thrown myself there with that stupid remark there. Oh, Martin is saying, hi, Stephen, just joined school. I'll contact your reconsultation. Folate is UG per litre, no obvious symptoms. That's great. So, Martin, I'll catch up with you on that. That's brilliant. Thank you for joining. I think one of the things I want to address as a layperson doesn't know enough about NAD plus is about the injections, because there's a lot of people that talk about it in the wrong way. And I think it's not down to NAD plus as so much bad treatment or bad practitioners. So, for instance, when you inject it, I'm sure it's meant to be quite a lengthy procedure. It's not supposed to be done in an hour. Yeah. But if you do it in an hour, you're going to get quite an inflammatory response that's very, very unpleasant, I'd imagine. Well, if you go to a practitioner that is trying to speed up the process to make more money, and not really taking the time, because it's a long time to have somebody in a clinic for 8 hours or whatever, then you may actually get bad symptoms from it. But I don't think it's the compound. I think it's the way it's been applied. So that's my 2 penneth. I've never had it done, but that's the same as anything, isn't it? I've had people tell me about chiropractors or osteopaths, and I think, wow, that's terrible treatment. What they've done there, and it's not even beneficial. It sounds good. You get a crack on someone's back, which is just the cavitation. A lot of times, it's not doing anything to help the condition the person is trying to get treated. But anyway, right, there is a question in the chat. So this is from Cruz. On cold legs, I used to get this ache in the calves during cold weather, and also burning in hot weather. DX with idiopathic paresthesia. These 2 symptoms decreased near to nil towards the end of my 6-month transition into 90% carnivore just 12 months ago. This year, the hot and cold cycle has been quite bearable. Now, cold, wearing thick leggings, cause a bit of burning, so need to use lighter leggings. And that's the thing, isn't it? When you transition, all these things you think are normal, I suppose, aren't. What would you say to that, Richard? Is that just a transition thing?
Yeah, look, I could barely walk a flight of stairs without stopping or being severely out of breath before coming ketogenic and carnivore. So when I say, when I'm mourning about certain things, the reality is I shouldn't be mourning at all, because I'm there running, stupid distances and fairly quickly, and I've done the bodybuilding and, lifted weights and did things that I could never have, dreamed of when I was on a carb-based, healthy, quote unquote, lifestyle. Since becoming carnivore, all of these things have gone away. But we are only human, and what we tend to find is that we will always push the needle. So you go out one day and you run, a certain time, a 20-minute 5K. Well, the next time you want a sub 20, and then once you've achieved that, then it's, well, I want to get, a sub 19 and so on and so forth. And we keep on doing these things and we push to the limit, and eventually we're going to have little niggles, little injuries. I train with Mikey, Mikey, the athlete that we've mentioned in the chat. And, he's the European champion in Ironman. So he's the #1 athlete in Ironman in his age category in Europe. And I'm not. So when I'm training with Mikey, trying to keep up with him, I'm working different zones. I'm really working for it. He's barely breaking a sweat, and I'm fighting for my life. So it's going to affect me different ways. So, I come away with aches and pains and little niggles. It's human nature just to try to push the boundary. And I will continue to push in whatever I do, So, the point of that is the carnivore lifestyle has allowed me to achieve incredible things, but I'm always going to find something to mourn about. There's always going to be a little niggle or an ache and pain or something that I don't recover quick enough. I just find it's the one thing that I thought that I had sorted, and this was the little niggles towards the lower ends of my legs, and they've just come back now that it's been cold. And it could just be that the transition from the fairly warm weather to the cold has been incredibly quickly. It might be that I haven't been running as much as I should be, because I've been working away. The likes of Dr. Abs have been dragging me away to record podcasts, and so I've been missing my sessions. So maybe that's had an impact. Maybe I've been pushing too hard in the colder weather. Who knows? But it's always that relentless pursuit of optimal health. I always want to get to the point where I can improve as much as possible. And I'm always looking for that edge. So I don't know what's causing, that little niggle. It's not stopping me. It's nothing terrible. It's not stopping me from running. It's just something that I've noticed since the cold weather has come back in. But certainly the triple socks does seem to be conferring some benefit.
We've got a question now, last 3 minutes. What Abs is saying, I've used NAD Plus to reverse neuropathic pain like that before, which is great. That's really interesting, Abs, actually. I might have 2 people that you could speak to. So maybe message me tomorrow. Great stuff. Yeah, you could, it could be a lifesaver. So Sandeep saying, evening, guys. 3 of my family members have had their gallbladders removed due to gallstones. One thing they all have in common is that they are all vegan, vegetarian. In simple terms, could this be caused by a lack of fat? And then what they did consume, some their body couldn't deal with properly. Actually, the first section of your, yeah, exactly, lack of fat. The gallbladder is there to store bile. It's like a contractile muscle, really. It sort of moves it around and concentrates it. And then when you eat fat, it is ready to spurt it into the duodenum and emulsify the fats. So if you don't have fat, what happens? It doesn't flex its muscles. That's what happens. And you get gallstones because that concentration is not being released. That bile is not being released into the duodenum or duodenum, I think they call it in America. And therefore you get supersaturation, you get things like gallstones. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just the lack of fat coming in and the lack of usage. If you don't use it, you lose it. That's what they say. In saying that, if they want to go carnivore, your hepatic duct will become a surrogate gallbladder. And that's what the liver is, a remarkable organ. And it just backs up that system. So the gallbladder goes and you can still produce bile, you can still produce it, still release it into the small intestine, and you can still emulsify fats because the bile production is not compromised. It's the bile storage and concentration. But that does start to happen again and people could pick up. So if they want to come over to the carnivore side and leave the dark side, they certainly can do that and get back on the road to health.
Spot on. Just to add something really briefly, if they are going to do that, then I'd recommend an incremental gravitation over consuming too much fat. But yeah, spot on.
Step change. Is it a step change?
Step change.
Yeah, brilliant. That's okay. So yeah, if anyone's noticed I'm particularly tired today, I do apologise. I've been researching statins for somebody close to us that is thinking of going on them, even though actually that's not what they need. Which is a lowering of blood pressure, which actually isn't what they really need, but that's what the doctors are saying to help this person's condition. If they lower their blood pressure, then everything's golden. And to do that, they're giving them statin. And I've been meaning to do a really full, well-researched, well-referenced document about statins, and it pushed me to do that. So today, that's what I've been doing, and it's been a bit disheartening, to be absolutely frank with you, to read some of about the corruption, actually, of the pharmaceutical companies, what's hidden. It's all documented, fines, which are then hidden from a particular period of time. So anyway, on that wonderful bleak note, I will say thank you very much for watching. I'm going to stop the recording now, and this will be available as a playback. So I'm going to stop the transcription, stop recording, and you can see it in the playback section in the next couple of days.